case I need it. Eyes in case I need those. All right, I'll let you guys fire away.
How much difference does it make for a coach to now have a very veteran team coming into the spring? You get 9 starters back, you got probably the #1 quarterback in the nation. How much does that mean in the way that you prepare in the spring, the way you conduct spring?
Well, it's, we set, I believe what we've done thus far is we've set a standard, an expectation that we have for the way we play, and the kids know that. And, the thing that's always humbling about this time of the year is, we just got through with our scheme evaluation, and you can see all the areas that you need to improve. As good as it was, there's a lot of room for improvement. So, what always rings true is the, stay humble, stay hungry part, and that's really the makeup of our staff and, how we raise the players. So, the good thing is we've got a lot of veterans back. The really cool thing is that they see too the improvements that we can make and how much better we can be. So you don't get that kind of commitment unless you have older players, guys that have been there. So it's a really good place. We've as a staff, that's how we raise them, and that's the way we talk and the way we're motivated, because everybody's, I don't care, in college football the field is so level, you have to earn everything, and our kids have bought into that.
We talked to Teddy a couple weeks ago, one of the functions, and it seemed like he's already completely changed his demeanor in terms of embracing everything that comes with being a candidate for Heisman and maybe the #1 pick. How much have you seen him start to embrace that too?
Well, I tell you, here's really what Teddy's all about. Teddy's about the team, and he's about his role with the team. I think more than those kind of things, those honestly, the Heisman hype, the future in the NFL are not things that he really thinks about. I mean, I think obviously, having a career is something that every player who plays would like to have that opportunity, but Teddy's not geared that way. He's different, and that's why he's been such a good student, such a good player for us. He's such a committed player to the team, and he understands. I mean, he embraces this time of year as much as I do, because he knows there's areas of his game he's got to make better, and he goes to work at those things. He's worked all winter at them, and spring ball, getting ready to happen here in a few short weeks, he'll go out and attack everything he needs to get better at. And his whole purpose is, it's always driven towards the team. It's driven towards, I think, he understands, like we all understand, we can have a special year, but we have to earn it. Everything we want is out in front of us as a team. And it's always going to be with Teddy, always about the team, never about him. And he's just not that kind of guy. But that's what makes him, people always ask me, he does have a special skill set, but the thing that's different about Teddy that separates him from so many players is that he is about the team, and he doesn't let that stuff get away, and he does not want that kind of attention focused on him. He wants to take care of us, and he knows if he does his job with our football team, then anything that comes, so be it. But he wants to play at a higher level and make his game better, because he realizes he's got a lot of things to improve on.
What can he improve on?
Oh, he's got a lot, and he'd tell you that. I mean, the game is never. He's improved so many aspects of his game, but as a quarterback, you're never done. You are never done. The minute you think you are is the minute you're going to get run over, by that train that is about self, and again, that's not who he is. So he knows he has things to improve on, little things like being more decisive, with some of our. We put a lot of football in his hands, and he can be more decisive with his check game. He can be more decisive with his decisions. More consistent, I think, probably is the best word to use when it's decision making, because he did some outstanding things, he really did, but then there's inconsistency in his game, and it's really nice, sitting there with him and him seeing those things, and he really understands it, and he's humbled by it like I'm humbled by it. When you take it's like this time of year is about you get to take a look like you're in a, lab, you're in a clinic, you're really looking at what you've done and the detail of it. You don't get to see that in the season as much because you're going to the next guy. Those things come out, and they just bang, they come right out at you. And he had a great year. I'm not, we all know he did, but he knows there's a lot of improvements he can make in those areas.
Shawn, how much will the Heisman possibly be in the back of your mind in terms of, maybe he doesn't have the numbers, so maybe he needs to throw some more to get, X amount of touchdowns or X amount of yards just to kind of make it look bigger?
Honestly, just because of the way we are around here, it'll never be about that. It'll never be about that. It'll be about what it takes for us to win. It'll be about the team first. I mean, that's just the way we all are, and that's because it has to be. You can't sacrifice individual, things for the team, and that's again what makes him so special is that he's motored and geared that way. He's all about the team, and he knows a quarterback in our system has to be a guy who is a decisive decision maker. He's got to understand the management aspect of football, in all areas that that again this time of year helps him see where his growth needs to take place, and he embraces those things, and he's always going to try to get better at those things, and he'll never, and I would never do that. That's just not. It's all about the team. We want to win championships, and we want to chase something special, and we'll work hard, and if we do our job, that's the way we feel. We do our job, we do what we're supposed to do, then all those good things that come will come. It's just the way we are.
What do you want to find out about?
I'm sorry.
Competition in other positions. What are you looking for the most? And you've got a lot of guys back, but you got a lot of new. I mean, you got Christian Pike, a lot of guys, Clark, that'll be first time competing for jobs. What are you looking for out of some of those guys?
Well, we obviously need to see. We need to see what we have in some players who are get to play for the first time. The tight end position will have a lot of competition, which is good. We've never had this kind of skill set and this much depth with this much possibility than we're going to have this year. So what Gerald can bring to the table, how we can use him, how he'll fit into our offense, and then how BJ will fit, how Jalen will fit, how we can use Ryan, where Zeke Pike will fit. I mean, that whole room, there's a lot of competition, and we're going to head down a little bit different path because of that, which is challenging to us as a staff. And then the thing spring ball will do for us is it will help us find out the skill set each one of them bring and how we can utilize that and target those kids. So I'm really excited about that because I've been waiting to have tight ends. We've had guys that Nate did a great job for us last year. Chichester the year before, but we've never had this kind of depth and this much flexibility with the depth that we have. Because a guy like the skill set I see, in practices during training camp with Gerald, with Zeke, with Jalen, they can do things that receivers can do. They can do things that fullbacks or lead backs can do. They have a lot of multiplicity. So the tight end position that'll be a real interesting venture for all of us. I think Robert Clark will bring a lot to our receiving position. Now he's as fast. He's a great straight line speed. He has exceptional functional speed, which means break speed in and out. He's got a great pair of hands and a real feel for the game. Is a great competitor. So he'll up the ante in that room. I think being able to use his skill set, he brings something different to the table than we have at that position because of his speed. We'll play him in the inside slot, but it'll be the same kind of challenge with him. How can we plug him in? How can we use him to enhance us? And then that'll put competition on the field with the other positions. Tailback, I think it'll be very competitive. Sonaris will be out this spring, but Dominic's coming back. We're really excited about Brandon. We're excited about Corbin. Both those guys have something different they bring to the table. And we were watching our scheme evaluation. Corbin Lamb, his touches were, he had showed outstanding speed. He showed great speed. So I don't know if we've had that kind of, and Saris is fast, but, Corbin's a little different speed. So it'll be really competitive in that room. And, again, we want to, put competition breeds so many good things and brings the best out of players. So I think that'll happen in that room. Dominic's got a different run style. Again, challenge for us as a staff how we use these guys. And then in the offensive line, we have 3 guys back, and then filling those 2 spots. Joyer has had a really good year for us, and was really, before he got hurt in the Pitt game, was competing for was really competing for a starting job. And we'll now move him most likely to center, and then Nacho will play fill in for where Cupper was at, and then the young players behind him is what we're really encouraged with, because we've spent a lot of chips in recruiting there. We feel like we brought in some really good young players. We have to develop them, but guys like Joe Manley, T.C. Klusman, we're really intrigued to see what they can bring to the table, because they're tough guys that have you have a nice skill set for that position. So there'll be a lot of competition, and there's other players, I'm not mentioning. It'll just be very competitive, I believe, in the offensive line.
Is Dominic good to go?
Yeah, he's good to go. Yeah, he's totally good. Yeah, he's good to go. So it's we'll be able to do some things that we did with Dominic that I think really enhance us. We lost really, what we call the wild card package when we lost him, because of his background, obviously, as a quarterback. That'd be fun to get back to that package, because then that brings another dimension to the run game. So, we've got some, they tease me all the time, they've got some new toys to play with, and we do. And as the challenge for us is going to be where we put those guys and how we target them and use them.
We last saw Brown, I don't know how defined he was as a running back. What was his kind of season off and coming back like, and what's he like right now? His running style will be.
He's done a great job of coming back, rehabbing. There was by the end of the season last year, he was back to full form. By that time, the season had gone by, and we were wanting to redshirt him because we felt like he was beginning to develop those tailback instincts. When he was transitioning in 2011, he was really finding his way, learning how a tailback runs from that position. He's a natural runner because he ran as a quarterback, but taking it from a quarterback instead of distributing the ball is a different deal. So he began to learn those instincts and learn how to use his skill set. He's a physical north-south runner and a punishing runner. I'll never forget the hit he had on the defensive tackle at North Carolina. I mean, he really got it. He can level his pads and be a forceful runner. So I think he this year, when we saw him, because he went against our defense, and during the bowl practice, as you can see, that he was establishing that presence as a physical runner, and really his instincts, how we do our business from that alignment, tailback alignment, he was really catching on.
What kind of went behind Jeremy Wright's decision to go ahead and come out?
Yeah, I don't know everything. I think Jeremy, obviously, he felt like, he felt like it was his time to, try that market. I think what happens, today's world is you see a lot of that goes on. It's more. I can remember a few years back you didn't see that quite as much as you do now. You see guys, trying to draft you to graduate it. I think he felt like that was the next step for him. So, I know he and Charlie talked, and he felt like he was all in to give that a try. So he went that way.
How big of a change is it for Teddy changing centers?
Not a big deal. We work multiple centers in practice. We always do. I make the quarterbacks take snaps from all the centers, and that's during our center quarterback exchange drills. And then he'll work in a practice alone. We'll work 3 centers most of the time. I mean, he'll work between 1, 2, and 3 because you always have to prepare for in case an injury. So we always worked him. He's worked with Cam. Cam worked a lot as a center. Last year, and as we were, early part of the year, especially, and always took snaps in the center in practice, and Teddy always took snaps with him. We've taken, we usually take our young guards and we see which ones have the ability to snap So he's worked with Klusman, who's another candidate at center. You know, Tobias, he's worked with him. He's really worked with everyone that's, you know, a lot, you know, more Cam than anybody else, but, you know, he's had quite a few snaps from everybody.
You
What
mentioned
do you like that Cam brings to the table at that spot?
Cam really, you know, Cam, one, he's a veteran. You need, you know, the center is a position that, you know, it's like a quarterback. He triggers all the line calls. He triggers identification with identification and communication. And he's a veteran player with that veteran savvy, knows our system. And I really believe, you know, Cam, he really found himself last year. And it was really, you know, a good thing for us because, like I said, you know, he was really pushing John Miller about ready to take his job. In the pig game, they were going, by that time of the year, they were going 50-50. And he had 3 really good games going into that game and really found himself. So I think he's, you know, playing very confident football right now. And he should because he's put it on film.
There's nothing particularly as an assistant coach you can do about the schedule.
No.
You face what you face.
That's right.
Would you like to have a schedule that had a couple of more challenges in it?
You know, I tell you what, the way we look at scheduling here, because we know the game so well, I mean, it's competitive every week. We can't do anything about it, you know, so what you do, what you have to do, I believe, is you got to focus on the things that you can control. No, we don't have any control over it, so I don't worry about who I wish we could play. I worry about the guys we're going to play 1 week at a time, and you know, work on, you know, putting our kids in the best position to win those games. You know, I think the way things played out this season, you see Boise's done it in their past. You just take care of the business at hand. Whatever's in front of you, you take care of it, because I think our schedule, you know, I look at it, I got a lot of respect for Coach Solich and the job he's done at OU. I mean, he's done a great job. That team went in and got after Penn State, beat them. You know, and he's capable of those types of victories. I mean, he's put together a great program. You know, those are, they get your attention. I mean, his philosophy, his background, what he's done, just using our opening game as an example, I mean, he'll put a great product on the field every year, and they'll come in here and compete their tail ends off. They'll come after you, and they've proven it. You know, as you go through our schedule, you look at the people in conference, I think, you know, Central Florida is going to have a really good football team. They've got a lot of guys back. They've got a really good quarterback. You know, we went down, in fact, this morning we were looking at it, because you really, when you're us, you know, we know who we play but don't know when we play them, so we kind of look at it. And there's some people in there you go, you know, this is going to be a really challenging game. You know, Rutgers is going to be challenging. You know, there's going to be all kinds of challenges, because the season, we never know what a season holds. So we just keep our mouth shut and we go about working our business, taking it one game at a time.
Shawn, when you talked about new toys a few minutes ago, we haven't had a chance to talk to you since signing day. Talk about adding James Quick to the mix in the fall.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting, because James brings a skill set similar to Roberts, but he can play in both outside and inside lanes. And he can handle the ball so many different ways. You can give him screen plays, you can give him sweep handoffs, you can do all kinds of things with James. So James is going to bring, you know, another dimension to us that we're already planning for. You know, we were planning for him during recruiting, and then, you know, after signing day, as we approached our preparation, our scheme, you know, start studying other people, we've had him in mind and what we can do with him and his skill set. So I think he's, you know, he can play both inside and outside lanes. He can handle the ball as a receiver. He can handle the ball, you know, on sweeps. He can handle them on reverses, handle them on screens. I mean, he can do a lot for you. Similar to what Coach Beatty did with him, and he had a lot of touches in several different ways and was very creative with him. So we'll do the same.
Charlie talked on signing day about adding Kyle to the mix and adding Brett to the mix with Will back. Just talk about the competition behind Teddy. You have to have somebody has to step up.
Yeah, it's probably, you know, as we approach spring ball and go into training camp and into our season, that'll be the number one. That's really our number one priority on offense. You know, our backup quarterback has got to be a quarterback that we can win a championship with. A long time ago, Coach Eubanks, when he was hanging out with me at Miami of Ohio, taught me that lesson. He's the most valuable player on your team, because he doesn't get the reps, because, you know, he's got to do a lot of it, you know, through study, through watching. The thing we have here with these, with Will, and, I'm really excited about that room. That room is a really good room. Will Garner, I love his skill set. Brent is going to really add to us. He's got a nice skill set. Those guys, we have to give them a bunch of quality reps, because the humbling thing is they have the skill set, but they've taken no game reps, which is obvious, but here's a catcher, no practice reps. So we've got to do a great job at developing those guys in spring ball and in training camp and throughout the season, so that we have that type of quarterback, if called upon, like Will was in the Connecticut game, they can go in and they can win ball games for you.
Is Will healthy? Is
Yes.
Garner healthy?
Yes, he is.
You mentioned decision-making with Teddy. What things mechanically specifically is the focus in spring?
Mechanically, the things I want to see him work on is just, basically, for him, he's a skillful passer. In other words, he's got the mechanics, but he has to be consistent at where he carries the ball. He's got a habit of putting the ball in one hand in the pocket. We had too many turnovers at quarterback with stripped balls that came out of either a scramble or out of a pocket. And he's just got to learn how, to be more consistent at his ball security, keeping two hands, protecting the ball with his body. That's an area that, that is probably under coach, because everybody thinks about the throwing aspect of it, but the ball security is a huge part of it. Plus, that's where you set the ball, they throw it in one piece, so the ball is always a fast, quick delivery. So those are things, his footwork, you always can use work. That'll be true of any quarterback anytime in their career, just staying consistent with it. So the two places that, I'm working, when we have our skills drills, I'm able to work with him. Without football, we have to roll up towels to do this, but, ball security, keeping two on, function in the pocket with all the movement that a quarterback has to do, because you have to avoid rush and push pockets. And then, the other part of it would be, the timing aspect of his footwork, just being consistent with it. And he's done a nice job with it. He's embraced it and worked hard at it.
What's next for Devontae Parker, and how close is he to his potential?
Oh, gosh, I tell you what, Devontae had, I thought Devontae, and I will say, Copeland had great years for us. If you look at the film, went through the scheme evaluation with us, you saw very detailed play, both fundamentally, assignment-wise, and fundamentally. Devontae has become an accomplished receiver. Things he can, he still has some consistency aspects that he has to work at. And I think, the one thing that has really upped his game is how well he's learned to play with his hands, getting off of first and second level defenders and getting released. Because if a receiver doesn't get spaced up, get to where he's supposed to be on time with the quarterback's feet, it diminishes the passing game. He's done a great job of that. So he just has to learn to stay consistent at that. We're going to put some more clubs in his back, give him some more things. He's able to take on more now, in fundamental aspect, technique stuff. So Dukes will be working with him as well as all of them, because all of our receivers have really done a nice job of that. Those two in particular have done a nice job with that.
How much difference in the recruiting that you've seen so far has going to the ACC eventually done for you, and what are we overestimating as media how much impact it can have?
No, it's a huge tool. It's I think a couple of things are working for us right now. One, that move, but that move with the season we had and the Sugar Bowl win. You put it all together, and we're on the radar screen with a lot of kids. I think the prospects out there, see the style of play. In other words, what they saw, in the Sugar Bowl. Then you put that with, the opportunity to play in a major BCS conference against the people that are in that conference, and then the out-of-conferences games that will come with that. Everyone, all those kids that you talk to that's the number one thing, they tell me, like I recruit the Cincinnati area, and that's a huge, huge, huge for us. It's got their attention.
How much does it affect you that game day is coming to your spring football practice? They're just going to everybody. You're in there with the Alabamas and the Floridas, and that's Michigans, that's who they're visiting, and you're among them.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. The thing that's nice about it is that, our hard work's paid off, and people have noticed us. And, you know, the thing that we try to preach around the building, starting with Charlie, permeates throughout our whole staff is, you know, that's why you have to keep working hard. Because the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to have a letdown. You know, we've got to keep our focus in the right place, our attention to detail, and the things that got us there, we've got to keep doing those things, which the culture of our program would be centered around hard work. You know, we really challenge the players, and, you know, they've embraced it and come with us, because that's hard to do, you know, as hard as we go after things. But they've now, you know, it's become part of their DNA at this time, you know, now, so they embrace it now.
You talked about the tight end. I mean, Rockwell has 6 guys. If you throw Bowles in there, 3 tight ends, 3 fullbacks. You kind of interchange those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so Hubble could play some fullback, or you could.
You know, with his skill set, we probably won't play him a fullback. He's not, you know, he's not a lead blocker.
Right.
But what he is an inside receiver. You know, he's an on-the-line tight end as well as a wing, you know, play the wing alignment. He's a guy that you can motion and move all over the place. But the lead aspect of it won't do with him. Where Gerald has that lead aspect, a little bit bigger, thicker body. You know, he's a powerful, you know, especially with you know, with a head start, he's a powerful player, as is Jalen, as is BJ. So, you know, that's what I was referring to really in, you know, taking those skill sets, working with them, and then putting those kids in those positions. Where I think, you know, like Hubble, he's an awesome receiver. He's really good. That's his forte. And, you know, he'll play the inside spot for us. You know, a guy like Gerald, a guy like Christian can, I think, play all. They can be on the line. They can be in the backfield. They can be out in the slot. So, you know, they each have something different, you know, that is really unique to work with.
As an offensive coordinator, you look at a guy you have as a tight end now, who every college in the country wanted as a quarterback a year and a half ago. And see,
Yeah.
I mean, do you? Yeah, I mean, just talk about what he can bring, and do you think about? I mean, do you use him any type of quarterback role? I mean, at all?
Probably not, you know, because he'll have his plate full with tight end. You know, who knows that you could brew up something special, you know, a special play. I'm discluding that. But he is, I tell you what he did when he came out here last year. You know, we all really, you know, we saw him as a tight end type out of high school. I thought he had you know, he was a great big athlete. And he's got unbelievable ball skills. He's like a wide receiver with his functional speed. And when I talk about functional speed, I'm talking about getting in and out of a break. He's a natural hands catcher. He just has I think, a great skill set for tight end. You know, I've been around, when I was at Colorado, I had, you know, a couple first rounders and a third rounder, and he's as good as, you know, his skill set's as good as those guys. He's got a lot to work on, because it'll be a new position, but he also is a natural football player, and he has an appetite for contact. So, you know, he's going to be fun to work with at that position.
Talk about B.J. Butler, and is he really 275, 280 at that fullback spot?
Yeah, he goes really between 270 and 275, and we don't want him to lose anything because, you know, as you saw in the bowl game, he can run. And, you know, he's a powerful man, you know, that can really anchor down and be a lead back. He can play on the line of scrimmage. He can play those wing alignments. You can do so many things with him. When you have a guy like him, you know, you see what the Patriots are doing with their tight ends. You know, you know, he's got a lot of multiplicity. You can do a lot with him. Then he's a big, strong man. I mean, he can anchor an edge and set an edge for you in the run game. That's why we like him so much. That's where he really helped us when he came over.
Sound good? I want you to be late for a question.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.